on the bad side, if you were an exorcist and you watch someone levitate off a couch, and I can't put that into the DSM manual classification of a psychological disorder, you'd have to say something's happening here. There might be something beyond what I believe. So I would say maybe do your research a little more before you come to that conclusion. Have you ever seen anyone levitate? I have. Go on. And it's an interesting thing because in the Catholic Church in America, so the USCCB, that's our governing body of bishops, we're the only body of bishops that require, before we do the rite of exorcism, the person has to have both a physical checkup and a psychological exam. Psychological exams are expensive. They're about $2,000. So, and we don't charge the victim because they're already suffering and they often don't have the resources. They've lost their home, their job, usually their wife, husband. But we require that because the law says that I have to have moral certitude that the devil is present. And to do that, we have to rule out psychological problems and all this, okay? When I saw the man levitate off the couch, I had moral certitude that that's not a psychological condition. In all.
This is the scariest part of this topic. So, if you are not prepared, you should not watch or listen to this channel.
So when I saw this young man levitate off the couch, there's my moral certitude that this is not a psychological problem because that can't force someone to get out of a chair. So that was what I didn't have to do the exam. So I believe all of this. None of this surprises me. I do as a Catholic. For people who might be skeptical, is it possible you just misperceived what was going on or what your mind playing tricks on you? No. Period. And I'll tell you why. I don't work alone. I mean, that would be horribly imprudent to go into a situation when you're dealing with demons or the devil himself alone. So contrary to popular opinion in the movies we see about exorcisms, we never go alone at midnight during a thunderstorm to a strange person's house in the wilds to do an exorcism about you or other people in the room that they couldn't know. So these are the hallmarks of how we would determine, is this really a demon? Supernatural knowledge of things they could not know, languages they have not learned, that they can speak fluently, and superhuman strength. I remember there was a little nun, about 100 pounds, 5 foot. I won't mention the order. And when she was going through a deliverance, it took 6 large men my size to hold her down. And that's what I mean. It's not possible that that little girl could have that strength. So we look at these things as kind of the hallmarks. This is not normal. This is a supernatural thing. I've seen that same man run up a 20-foot wall like a squirrel. And 2,000 people at a conference saw it too. So there's the proof that that's not right. Can we all agree that's not normal? That's not normal. I've never seen that happen. No. And it's scary when you see it because he likes to inflame fear in people's hearts. And people, or I guess demons, were speaking this language, having possessed these people. I'm assuming they're not speaking Swedish. What languages? No, they typically pick up ancient languages or Hebrew or Aramaic or even Greek, and I don't speak those for the most part, so it normally has to be recorded, but you can tell right away, I know that's definitely Hebrew or that's this, and I'm like, has this person ever studied these languages? No. And in fact, sometimes they're maybe young, maybe a 15, 16-year-old who hasn't even gone through high school, or they can tell you things about yourself. So we always go to confession before we go into a deliverance, because you never want them to, not that we're sinning, in these great ways, but you want no weapon leveraged against you. You bring up confession, and I had this experience. It's taken me 32 years to figure out something that's probably pretty basic to confession. And confession is the sacrament where Catholics go into the box like you see in the movies, confess your sins on your knees before the priest, and the priest says, ego te absolvo, and you go out. And I was an atheist for 10 years. I reverted in my early 20s, and only recently I was
walking out of confession, and I had this thought, which is, not only do I feel spiritually at peace here, but what's so striking is that I feel physically different. So I could understand feeling spiritually at peace as maybe there's just some psychological thing happening when I say something.